And then for Peters and Waterman, they basically talk about there being 8 major characteristics that make a company successful, and and for Revolution Foods, their 3 main characteristics are sticking to the knitting, productivity through their people, and close relationships with their customers. Okay, and then communication. The big communication issue that a lot of companies have is time and distance. So that's the time of being able to get a hold of somebody that you need, and the distance apart being the problem to solve that, or the problem to that. So how they limit this is their employees have smartphones, so they could talk to them whenever they want. This is pretty much apparent in all companies. Through ERP systems, this is the ability to, an ERP system is basically like a database that all like branches of a business work together on. So they all put their information into one place, and then everybody can look at it. This eliminates time for retrieving information and distance, because everybody's in the same place instead of everyone having their own separate database. And then landlines throughout the buildings, pretty much every company has this. Whenever you need to call somebody from one area of building to another, you can just call them up on their landline, and they'll be able to pick up and assist each other. Crisis communication. This is something that not a lot of companies implement in their everyday activities, but it is important. You know, one single crisis can wipe out a company if you're not prepared. So what the 2 major things that Revolution Foods does is they have top commitment from their top management. So the top management is bought in, and they're all just, they do their best to let their employees know about what potential crises are. And brainstorming possible scenarios, they try to come up with as many possible scenarios for what could hurt their company, and they do their best to work toward them. And obviously teamwork is crucial to communication. If you don't enjoy being around each other and work together as a team, then you're not going to communicate effectively with each other. And intercultural relationships. This is crucial to any business. Forming intercultural relationships mainly has to do with understanding high and low context cultures, understanding barriers, and then overcoming these barriers. So high-low context is just the different type of cultures that you come from. Like a high context culture would be like the South American countries, and then China is a high context culture, I believe. And then low context cultures are basically like predominantly white cultures. And then barriers to intercultural relationships include perceptual disparity, and that basically has to do with believing that one food, or that what's taken for granted in one culture isn't taken for granted in another culture. Like having clean water. Having clean water is taken for granted in America, but it's not taken for granted in countries in Africa. Ethnocentrism, that's basically thinking that other people are weird because your culture sees it as being weird. And one example that I came up with is eating beef in America. The Indian culture in India, they cherish cows, so they do not even come close to eating them. So they might believe that we're kind of weird for that, but we talk about it and we get over it. And then language disparity, obviously, different languages. When you have different languages, it's hard to communicate with each other. And then overcoming these barriers, you basically overcome these barriers by just being prepared and being willing to listen and being open to others. All right, and then the last section is the ethics theory. And then, I cannot pronounce this word, utilitarianism, I believe is how you pronounce it. So basically that's just the belief that everyone benefits from you doing well. And that's what Revolution Foods does in their everyday activities. Kids benefit from eating healthy food, parents benefit from knowing that their kids are eating healthy food, and employees benefit by working for a thriving company. So everybody benefits when Revolution Foods does well. Categorical imperative. That's the idea that something is unethical no matter what culture you're in. That's like murder, rape, kidnapping. And obviously, Revolution Foods does not do anything that goes outside the categorical imperative. And strategic ambiguity is basically when something is vague in order to start up brainstorming. And that's something that Revolution Foods does not do. They don't use a strategic ambiguity because they want their customers to know exactly what they're buying when they get into their product. Okay, so in conclusion, the 3 key ideas that I want you guys to take away from this presentation are that the company fulfills their customers and employees' hierarchy of needs. So everyone benefits from working and using this company. They have really good communication with their employees, and they perform ethically throughout all their operations. So that is my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for listening.